So, you're thinking about taking your business global. That is a huge step, and it's super exciting. But let's be real, it's also filled with all these hidden risks that can sink your company before you even get started. Well, in this explainer, we're going to give you the map you need to navigate this really complex territory.
In this quote, it just nails it, doesn't it? So many businesses try to go global based on a hunch, or maybe a single piece of advice they got somewhere. But as you're about to see, going in blind is probably one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. The stakes are just incredibly high.
You know, it's one thing to talk about risks in general, but what are the actual painful problems that can completely torpedo an international launch? Let's break down the disasters that happen when you don't have that map. Okay, let's dive right into what we're calling the 8 costly mistakes. This is where we're going to cut through that fog of global trade and look at the most common ways businesses stumble.
All right, first up, launching into a market where there's just no real demand. It's such a classic mistake, right? Your product is a massive hit at home, so you just assume it'll be a hit in a nearby country because it's convenient. But without data, you're just guessing. You're hoping people there actually want what you're selling.
So, let's say you find a market, but what you don't realize is that it's already dominated by these really established local players. I mean, these companies, they know the culture inside and out, they own the distribution networks, and they can probably beat you on price every single time. It's like showing up to a fight you didn't even know was happening.
And pricing. Oh man, this is a big one. It's not just about your cost plus a little markup. You have to understand the local purchasing power, what your competitors are charging, and all those hidden costs, like import duties and freight. If you price too high, nobody buys. But price too low, you could be leaving a massive amount of profit just sitting on the table.
Now this one is subtle, but it is absolutely critical. Buying habits are deeply, deeply cultural. The color of your packaging, the tone of your ads, even the product features you highlight, what works great in a Western market might completely flop, or worse, be genuinely offensive in an East Asian one. This goes way beyond just the legal stuff. Every single market has its own unwritten rules of the game. What are the best distribution channels? Who really holds the power in retail? What do buyers expect from a business relationship? If you don't know these nuances, you're just going to struggle to get any traction at all.
Let's be blunt here. If you don't know who you're up against, you just can't win. It's that simple. Without knowing the key players, what they offer, their prices, their strategies, how can you possibly position your own product to stand out? You're basically flying in the dark.
Oh, this is a huge trap, especially for busy entrepreneurs. You have one really good conversation at a trade show where you get a hot tip from a contact, and you decide to base a multi-million-dollar decision on it. That kind of surface-level intel is often dangerously incomplete, or sometimes it's just plain wrong.
Markets are never static, right? They're always changing. Consumer tastes evolve, new technologies pop up, regulations shift. If you don't have a system to keep an eye on these trends, you could miss a game-changing opportunity, or even worse, get totally blindsided by a threat you never, ever saw coming.
So look at this. This table just lays it all out perfectly. It shows you the direct line between what you don't know and what you're going to lose. See? No demand validation. Well, that leads to launching products that nobody wants. You ignore the local competition, and you're going to lose market share. It's a clear cause and effect. And every single one of these gaps has a very painful, very costly consequence.
Okay, that's enough of the doom and gloom. Let's pivot and talk about the solution. It's what we're calling the intelligence advantage. This is all about finding your compass and the tools that can actually guide you through all this. First up, trade data platforms. Now, these tools are amazing because they give you that 30,000-foot view. Instead of just guessing where the demand might be, you can see exactly which countries are already importing your type of product, in what quantities, and from where. It's data, not drama. Next, let's look at the digital layer of this. So while trade data gives you that big picture, digital intelligence tools give you the reality on the ground. They let you basically listen in on the market in real time, analyzing what customers are actually searching for online and what your competitors are doing. And here is a super practical list to get you started. What's really cool here is the mix of free and paid tools. You can start building a really powerful intelligence picture without needing a huge budget. Look at something like the ITC Trade Map or even Embassy Trade Desks. They're completely free, and honestly, they're massively underutilized.
All right, let's get into a practical action plan. We know the problems, we know the tools, so now
how do we actually use them? Let's chart the course. Think of these 4 as your absolute must-dos. You start with that big picture trade data. Then you use that information to build a structured report that answers all the key questions we've been talking about. And please, don't try to go it alone. Leverage local experts like embassy attachés or distributors, and then, finally, you layer on those real-time digital insights.
But your research doesn't stop there. You've got to get your boots on the ground at trade fairs. And before you go all in with a massive investment, test the market. Do a smaller, low-risk entry first. And maybe, most importantly, remember that market intelligence isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process. You have to constantly keep your finger on the pulse of the market.
Well, let's just pause on this for a second, because this is a fundamental shift in how you should think about this. So many businesses believe they just need more capital, more money to succeed abroad. But the truth is, the companies that really win are the ones who invested in information first. Good data makes every dollar of capital you have go infinitely further.
And really, that's the bottom line, isn't it? The investment you make in doing your homework, whether it's time or money, will always be a tiny fraction of the cost of a failed launch. So the question isn't whether you can afford to do market intelligence, it's whether you can possibly afford not to.